So, it's you again. You are back to learn more. Welcome to episode 3. This one doesn't have a title. It's just going to be called I'm Flying Away Now. Been getting a lot of requests for interplanetary tutorials. My brain just kind of stopped working for a second there. Anyway, interplanetary tutorials for, interplanetary things. I'm going to start this video off a little farther ahead, not going through the launch sequence because I've already done that twice and nobody wants to see it again. And if you do, go watch the other videos. Thanks to the miracle of television, what am I doing? I already have... Where is he? Come on. This guy up in orbit here. Yes, television. You are watching your television now. Congratulations. So anyway, got this guy here, and this is where MechJeb is actually going to come in handy, and it's I wouldn't say it's required for interplanetary travel, but it will help you out a lot because it has these numbers here. Phase angles are very important, as is your prograde or your escape angle. I'm gonna wait for this guy to. Well, okay, so there's a calculator. I will put a link to it in the description. And it tells you exactly what angle you need to be at in your parking orbit for your prograde to eject off the planet and get to the next planet, wherever you want to go. It'll tell you, and it has a little visual graph, and I'll explain that later. It also tells you the phase angle necessary. Basically, phase angle. Come over here and zoom out. Phase angle is the planet's. We're going to Duna today, by the way. The planet's angle in a 90-degree format, or 180-degree, or whatever you want to call it, to Kerbal. And as you can see, Duna is at 107, which is an obtuse angle. It's a little over 90, which would be about right here. Think of it like a clock. See, nice big clock here, and here's your hour hand and your minute hand, and going off on a tangent on boring things. Wow, that's a lot of space trash. How did that all get out there? This is all trash that I've jettisoned while going to other planets. Ooh, look at that. Yule trip. Neat stuff. Duna trips, stuff like that. So, what I'm going to do, I have the calculator opened on my other monitor so I can see my angle. And at the altitude I'm at, which is about 137, I'm just going to put in 140 to the calculator for my parking orbit. And that'll show me where the planet needs to be, which is always the same. That will never change depending on your parking orbit, unless it's really far. I don't know, it might. Phase angle to get to Duna is 44.36 degrees, which means it would have to be just below a 45-degree incline, which would be about about right here. And since you can't use high time warps at certain altitudes, especially not this altitude, I have another guy set up down here. Oh, I always click on that one. Why do I do that? I just have him called the waiter. He sits here with a MechJeb and tells me my angles. You don't have to use MechJeb for this. You can use. There's a lot of new add-ons for it. There's one called Protractor. There's the angle calculator or something like that. There's a lot of them. They're easy to find. Go to Kerbal.net. It's kind of like if you've ever played something like Skyrim. There's the Skyrim Nexus for that, which is basically the same thing. You go there, or Garry'sMod.org for Garry's Mod. Go there, download mods, install them. Makes it a lot easier than trying to find them on the forums, since they're always usually misplaced. So I'm going to go into a 100,000x here, and we're going to wait for this here, the phase angle for Duna, to get down to about 44.6, because I want to give it some wiggle room, because I have to orbit the planet a few times to get back into prograde angle. So we're just going to have this go down, and if you watch, whew, that was fun. Here's Duna coming around, and it's about there, about 10 degrees off. Slow that down a little bit. Okay, so what do we need here? 44.36, and we're at 46.36. Alright, speed it up. Oh, I've skipped it. That's not good. Thanks to the miracle of television, I fixed that. Actually, it's something called quick save, which is nice. You press F5 to quick save, It'll also quick save on its own sometimes, and you hold F9 to load the last one. It's kind of arbitrary which one it loads, whether it loads the auto quick save or the one you made, but apparently you loaded the automatic one, so I'm fine with that though. Yeah, you have to be really careful when you're doing this. If you skip over it, especially for things like Joule, it takes a long time to line back up. Like, you will be waiting a few minutes, which is a long time when you're sitting here staring at the map screen. Going to Joule takes a long time too. It actually takes about, I don't know, I think it took me like 6 minutes once just to actually orbit all the way out there, because you end up going so slow and it's so far out. So we're going to go to Duna because it's nice and close. Alright, try to help me make sure I don't skip it this time. Knock me in the head when I get close to it. Here it comes. 44.5. That's cutting it close, but I think it'll do. So we're going to go out to our orbiting guy over here. And before they actually came out with mods for the phase angles and stuff like that, I downloaded a protractor that overlays on the screen. It's just a little program, worked pretty fine. You can also use a normal protractor and just put it up to your monitor. It's nowhere near being exact, but it worked for me. If you have any grasp on angles, it worked for me, so it might work for you. Okay, so the calculator is telling me that, okay, so I'm going to explain angle to prograde real quick. This shadow basically is Kerbin's prograde line, which is the orbital line that it follows, and it goes in this direction. It's counterclockwise, which is weird. I never noticed that. Anyway, so if you're ever looking for your prograde line and you don't want to zoom out that far because it kind of disappears when you're in close, you can use the shadow of the Earth. It's always on a straight line with the prograde. Or Kerbin. Sorry about that. Speaking of names and stuff like that, I figured out what the difference between apogee and apoapsis are. The apogee is the apoapsis of the Earth, and some people in the KSP community are really, really tight with these really terrible puns about the game, so they like to call it the apokey or the parakey, which is really annoying, and you all need to stop that. You're bad people, and you should feel bad. So, finally figured that one out. Made me feel kind of stupid. I was like, oh, okay. Anyway, the calculator right now is telling me that for a parking orbit of 140 kilometers, which is basically what I'm at, I'm giving it a little leeway. It doesn't change much. But mine is 150.18 degrees. And if you're going to inner planets on the inside of your planet here, which is Moho and Eve, you will have a angle to retrograde, which is a little harder to get with MechJeb. I don't suggest going into retrograde orbit to do that. It's a huge waste of fuel. Basically, your angle to retrograde is exactly opposite of your angle to prograde. I think when I had mine, I subtracted I subtracted 180 from my angle to retrograde, and it gave me the right one, and it ended up being like up here for Eve. It's a little complicated, but it gets the job done. So that's why I'm doing Duna today, because it's outside and it's a little easier to understand. So we're gonna just go, and you want to start your burn a little bit before you get to your angle, because as you can see, your window is pretty short. These numbers move pretty quick. I am at 1x time warp, and this is moving pretty fast. So we're going to speed up a little bit, and it should be around over here. Look at this. We're already at 176. So why is my ship under accelerate? Something in my throat there. Acceleration. You stop that. What do you mean? I'm not under this game, man. Alright, so we'll get to, I'll say, I'm going to say 160, because we also have to turn beforehand. And I'm just going to use MechJeb to do the turns, because I'm lazy. Basically, all you have to do is face your prograde. And whether you're trying to get to your angle to prograde or angle to retrograde, you're always going to burn prograde. The cool thing about this calculator is if you burn at the correct angle, when you get out of Kerbin's SOI, its sphere of influence, your orbit will shrink while you're prograding. It's really neat and kind of confusing. so you don't actually have to escape Kerbin and retrograde burn. Okay, so we're almost there. I'm going to start burning at about 152. I'll speed this up a little bit. I'm just going to start burning right now. I do have a Nerva engine equipped to this, one of the nuclear ones, because they are insanely fuel efficient in space. They're a little slow, but oh, look at this, we're already at 150. They're a bit slow, but they're so worth it, since speed really isn't an issue when you're doing interplanetary missions. I highly suggest using a Nerva engine, but you do have to be careful because they are quite a bit more heavy than the smaller normal fuel engines. This one, I think it weighs 8 tons compared to the old engine I was using that weighed 2.25. So it takes a little bit of extra fuel to get it up there. Look at this, we're already at 143 and going down, and we're not even out of the SOI yet. So the window, you don't have to be exact with these, which is a good thing, because it grows pretty quickly when you get out there. So you want to burn really slowly at this point. And since Duna doesn't have an inclination, what I do is I just prograde real slow until I get an encounter. And I am using a conic patch mod. Well, it's not really a mod, it's just a small settings configuration change. It just makes it so you can see encounters in future orbits. You can't really trust them though, they are very inaccurate. And yep, there it is. You have to stop right when you get it, because it'll mess with you. They're very, very, very finicky. So I'm going to turn that off and time warp out of our. I'm just going to escape from Kerbin so I can get an accurate reading on my encounter. There we go. Stop right there. Back to 1x, and it looks like we're still actually on our encounter, which is good. Since it's zero inclination, this is going to be relatively easy to get close. At this point, wow, I still have enough fuel that I don't even need to use my Nerva engine. That's very nice. At this point, it's a lot of guessing and checking, I suppose. I'm gonna head over to prograde here and prograde out. So that's making it larger. I don't want to do that, so I'm gonna turn around to retro, turn on my RCS so it moves a little quicker. This thing, it weighs a lot. It takes a while to turn around. You have to be careful using RCS while you're turning with MechJeb, because it'll just completely overshoot your mark. So you have to like kind of modulate it, keep it slow. Otherwise, you'll just overshoot and you'll end up spending tons of time just trying to get this thing exact. So it looks like it's working this time. And we're gonna prograde. You don't want to shrink it too much because it'll just go back up. See what it's doing? I don't want to do that. I want to get it down as low as I can before it starts to go back up. So what I'm doing right now is I've got a finger on shift and I've got a finger on X, and I'm just shift X, shift X, shift X. You can also use RCS, which actually is what I'm going to do because it saves your normal fuel and it's got much smaller movements. But if you don't have RCS on your craft, you can just tap between shift and X. I tap X like I'm just. As soon as I hit shift, I just smash X, so I know it turns off because it's shitty when you overshoot. And when you have your RCS on, you can hit H, and you can see this number shrinking pretty slowly. H is basically forward translation. See the fuel coming out the back here. Let me get this as low as I can. Looks like the number's starting to go back up, so I'm going to stop right there. And at this point, you can... actually, I'm going to wait until I get... It's always easier on your ship to change inclinations when you're going the slowest. And this orbit's really non-eccentric, so I'm going to be going basically the same speed the whole time, I think. Well, no, that's not true. Because I am... it's eccentric to the sun. Or it's not eccentric to the sun, so... I'm babbling, just ignore that. So I'm gonna get around around here where my apoapsis is, and I'm gonna start to modify my inclination very, very slightly to get my my periapsis to Duna just a little closer. Because despite being on a 90-degree incline, well, actually a 0-degree incline if you want to get into it, but when I left Kerbin, it was still off just a little bit, and obviously Duna's going to be off just a little bit, and steering calculations and all that kind of stuff, so it gets a little confusing. Anyway, inclination is easier to do, as I think I've explained in previous videos. It has more of an effect when you're moving slower. It's kind of the opposite of the Oberth effect. So I'm gonna go down to 1x right here, and you can use MechJeb for this, or you can do it manually. When you're on a 0-degree incline like this, usually normal and anti-normal will be the north and south markers here on your nav ball. So you don't really need to use MechJeb for this part. Oh, and if you are using MechJeb and you want to do it the easy way, once you reach Sun orbit, you escape from Kerbin, you can open up the transfer dialog here and it will transfer anywhere you want to go. I still suggest using the proper phase angles, because if you don't, then where did my orbit go? This is a problem. Anyway, if you don't use the proper phase angles, you're going to be spending a lot of delta V, or just a lot of time in space. Look at this, 11.8 million seconds for a transfer point to Eve. Okay. So it looks like I've lost my orbit. So I'm not completely certain there's actually a way to avoid what just happened other than not using the conic patch settings modification. It seems to be completely random when that happens, at least for me. It happens sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. I guess it all depends on your luck, I suppose. So let's try this again. There it is! So it's saying 45 million, and this is what I mean about this conic patch thing. Obviously, Duna's going to be way over here, and it's, for some reason my periapsis is up by Kerbin's orbit, for whatever reason. So I'm just gonna look. I'm just turning, and then suddenly it's gone. See, this is why you can't trust this system at all. I'd suggest just I don't even know, like, I use it just so I can have a general idea of how far out my orbit needs to be, but I guess you can just get it close, escape from orbit, and then do it from there. I guess it'll work exactly the same. Okay, there it is again. Looks like I also have I don't know what's going on here. It's just giving me hundreds of orbit lines for no reason. This is why I don't like this. Just gonna RCS this. Oh, okay, it's already, looks like it's down about as far as it's gonna go, so I'm just gonna actually get out of orbit here, escape Kerbin, because it's irritating me. Look how fast I'm going. Whee! What is that? Okay. So for now, for some reason, my orbit line's purple, and there's a blue one, because I guess I've got my blue, what I'm on right now, and then I've got the purple, which is the next one, which is annoying. And this right here is the part where you would have the conic patches turned off, and you would just prograde or retrograde. I would lay my orbit like on Duna's line, and then prograde from here, so you can get a relatively good idea of where you need to be. Oh, that's not going to help. And I figure last time there was some kind of inclination thing going on or something. Or maybe my prograde wasn't out far enough. I think what I'm going to do is, it looks like my... I really wish I could just... Wait. No, it's not going to let me target the planet, is it? Yeah, doesn't look like it. I wish I could just scroll over there and actually look at this thing. But... It looks like my periapsis is in front of the planet, which... That's good and bad. I don't know how that would end up, but I'm going to push this out. Now it looks like it's behind it. I don't want to push it out too far. I don't really know what I'm doing here. I don't know, I think it looks like it's behind it. I really, really wish I could actually go over there and look at it, because this is really annoying. Something I hope they do next is a big UI update, because this UI is terrible. It's really hard to read properly. I'm not sure if my orbit is coming in from behind or in front. Giggity. Look at this, I'm just moving, and it's really messing with this. This is really annoying. So I'm gonna get it down to, I don't know. This conic patch thing is really annoying me. Something stable. Let's see. Hopefully it won't disappear at 3 million again. Let's cross our fingers here and hope this actually works out this time, because I don't want to waste any more time on this. Yeah, it looks like it's turning around at that point. I'm going to do this from here because I don't want to lose that again. I'm going to see if I can get this as close as possible by modifying my inclination. This is how I usually do it, and it usually works, so I guess if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Nope, and now it's gone. What the actual fuck? Oh, this game just really likes to screw with me a lot, I think is what it is. I don't know, maybe my angles are off or something. Maybe I'm burning at the wrong spots. I don't know why the game hates me so much right now. This is really annoying. So there's my orbit. Doesn't look like changing my inclination is really going to do much. I'm going to get like on a pretty, let's see. I'm gonna try to get like halfway away from it, if you know what I mean. Kind of like straight through the middle of the circle here. I'm gonna try to get it on the other side of its semi-major axis, or its axis. Well, I kind of skipped that. It should be like right here, but yeah. So we're gonna see if prograding and retrograding from here makes it a little easier to get in a decent orbit. Oh, I kind of skipped that a little bit. Anybody see where that turned around? So what happens when it's turning around there is the inclination is off a little bit. So I'm also not sure if I can actually get it perfect at this point. This tutorial is really making me look like an ass, because usually I can get this pretty spot on. As you can see, I already have crafts landed on Duna. I have 2 or 3 of them there. It's usually fairly easy to get there, but this conics thing is really messing with me. I'm gonna try modifying inclination again, see if that works. I don't have much fuel left, so yeah, your deorbit stage. You want to get as close to the planet as you can without entering its atmosphere, obviously, for an easier deorbit, because O-berth effect and all that stuff. And this is all taking a really long time because this thing takes about half a year to turn around. I could probably design this a little better, but I'm too lazy, and the game really likes to mess with me. Oh, right. I'm using the cards mod for the rover. You can replace that with, you can just take the rover off. Just pretend it's not there for the duration of this. Did I put the RCS on it? No, I did not, because, oh yeah, it always uses... Oh, dicks! Yeah. I just tapped the spacebar by accident and separated my stage, which is bad. Alt-L locks your stage, so shit like that doesn't happen. I guess this is okay, since I'm basically in orbit anyway. That extra fuel would have been nice for deorbiting, but, I guess that's not gonna happen. But that's okay, because this thing's got some really low thrust to it, which makes it actually a little easier to do this. And it doesn't look like it's gonna let me get any closer to the planet for some reason. I can't understand. I'm at a loss for words because I don't know why the game's screwing with me so hard right now. Oh my. I'm also pretty sure that I'm coming in behind the planet, or in front of it, or whatever, and I really don't want to do that. Ah! Aha! Aha ha ha! Oh! Now it's turning around the other way. This is the part. See, now I'm just prograding and retrograding, and I guess I've lined up the inclination properly, close enough to actually get this thing relatively close to Duna. Looks like I think that's about as close as I'm gonna get. I'm gonna modify my inclination again, just to get it a little closer. You can see it's shrinking slightly. Ooh, it's working, guys! It's working! I'm happy! Well, I think Duna's atmosphere starts at about 45k, 45 kilometers. So, I'm gonna go with 70. That works. Let's do this. I'm gonna get over there, because this has been annoying, and I deserve this. All I'm trying to do is teach you folks, and the game's just like, So, by the way, this purple line is where I would go if I missed this, which, quick save, by the way. I'm going to use that because, if I miss this, I'm going to be mad. I don't want to do it again. Close that, and I don't need that, and I'm going to keep that open because that's actually useful. I highly suggest using MechJeb, by the way. You don't have to use every part of it. Like, some people would argue that the Ascent autopilot and all that, it plays the game for you. I think it just makes it more convenient. Personally, I've proved to myself that I can make it to all of the planets completely by hand without the use of MechJeb, so I kind of think I deserve to use it, just for the sake of convenience. It's like when I play Grand Theft Auto. Once I beat the game, I start cheating and kill everybody. So, you know, everybody has their entitlements, and we're not going to get into that right now, because I'm going to Duna. It's going to be this is my kind of like Mars rover thing. It's mostly stock. You can do this without the cart, and I mean, obviously, it's not going to drive anywhere. You can stick some gear bays on it, but that also means you have to use thrusters, and nobody wants to do that. Okay, so... Jeez. Okay, see, this is the part where I should have paid attention when I came into orbit, because this Conics patch thing is screwing me over yet again. It said 70,000 periapsis, and suddenly I'm at, 1 million. But, at least I quick-saved earlier, and I actually might be able to get into orbit from here. I'm going to go up to the periapsis, where I'm going the fastest. Well, let's see if this will work with the small amount of fuel I have. And this far out, I really don't know if this will work. We're going pretty fast, and out here, the escape velocity for Duna is it's actually pretty low. It's much lower than Kerbal. Kerbal's is 3,400 something or higher, 3,700 something like that. I think Duna's is like, obviously it's not more than 1,000 at this rate. Let's hope that I have enough fuel to get into orbit and actually land. That would be great. What I'm going to do is a maneuver called Aerobraking. I think I've gone over it before, but basically you get a free apoapsis shrink by flying through the planet's atmosphere. Come on. You can see it moving. It's coming in. And I think this thing is efficient enough to leave me enough fuel. I hope. Well, maybe not. This is gonna be close if it does work. I also have these engines and this fuel tank up here. These don't last very long, though. And parachutes do work on Duna. There is a slight atmosphere, so there's always that. Oh, it's starting to move faster. Wow, look at this. 770, 760. The escape velocity here is very, very low. It looks like it's going to work, though, so there's that. And there's probably more fuel-efficient ways to do what I'm about to do, but kinda don't care. I mean, I could fly up. Oh, look, we got an encounter with Ike, and I don't trust that for some reason. Well, I guess Ike is pretty big. The cool thing about Ike is it's tidal locked with Duna, which means the two parts of the planet and the moon are always facing each other. And it's also pretty cool. It's also in basically in geostationary orbit around the planet, so it kind of just wobbles in one spot in the sky. It's pretty neat. So I'm going to do this. Looks like I have enough fuel to pull this off, so that's good. We got here. That's what matters, right? Now we're good. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to lower this to about... I'm going to be safe and go with 35 kilometers. The atmosphere is pretty thin, so that's not going to do a lot. But I don't want to, you know, litho brake, which is another word for crashing. Alright, let's be careful here. I don't want to overshoot it too much. I don't want to waste fuel. Trying to raise this again. Good enough. So, what this is going to do is once I hit the atmosphere, I'm going to start to slow down, and this, the apoapsis, is just going to start to shrink. I did the same thing in another video. I believe I did, when I came into Kerbin's atmosphere, and yeah, my first video, I came into Kerbin's atmosphere for an aerobrake, and I went a little too low, and I ended up crashing. I almost landed, but the engine fell off, and something exploded, but that was the basis of the maneuver. And if you do it right, and you know what altitudes to go in at what speeds, it's pretty good. It's pretty nice, and this thing's flipping around to retrograde just because I have the mech jet on there. So, at this point, we are in the atmosphere. I want to see if you can see this starting to shrink really, 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 really slowly, since we're still at the tip of the atmosphere. I'm going to turn on the 4x time warp, which is physical, and this will mess with you if you have a big ship. But since this thing's real small and only is made out of like, I don't know, like 12 parts, it's okay. Now, it doesn't look like 35 kilometers is going to do much for our apoapsis here. Apoapsapapa. I can speak, I swear. And I'm going to keep an eye up. Oh no, it's in surface information right here. There's our altitude. Once we get back up to 40, I can exit physical time warp and go back into normal time warp. I think it's about 41 actually. It's real. There it is. Real strange. So as you can see, 35 kilometers did about nothing. I think it shrank my apoapsis by 600 meters, which isn't very much, obviously. So I'm going to go back up there to the apoapsis, and I'm going to shrink it just a little more. I'm going to go down to like 25. I think I did that the last time. Goddamn lag. I think I did it the last time I came here and it worked out okay, so let's do this again. And obviously this thing's much smaller, so it has a better turning capacity than that giant clunk of blubber that I was towing around space. I guess that separation worked out. There wasn't that much fuel in it, so that wouldn't really have been all that useful. The thrust might have been, though, but, you know, we're still here and we made it, so not too much lost. There we go. 25,000 meters. Let's try this again. Whee! And it'll turn us down to 1x once we get into orbit. Or atmosphere, rather. Laggy, 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 laggy. Laggy, laggy, laggy. You can stop that now, thank you. Turn it up to 4. And we can watch this come down. It's shrinking. It's actually going pretty quick. If you go too far into the atmosphere and you start going too slow, this will shrink. Also, this shrinks at a much slower rate, but it still shrinks. The periapsis, that is. If you get down too far, this will shrink too far, and it'll go inside the planet, which is a suborbital trajectory, which means you will smash into the dirt. Oh, it's the Death Star. It's Mimas. Is it just me, or has my inclination changed a lot? Wasn't it up here? I don't even remember, but I'm pretty sure it was... oh no, that was the other side. Well, it looks like we're coming out of the atmosphere. So this aerobraking, it's taking us a while, but I am getting basically a free shrink on my apoapsis, which is always nice. I'm not using any fuel to get my orbit more eccentric, which is good. Not using fuel is good. See, we're at 41.5. Oh, there it is. Come on. So we get to 60, we can turn it up a notch. There we go. Let's get to, I think it's, 100. Turn it up a notch. 300. Oh, we don't really need the 3. Well. And then right there, lag spike out of nowhere. I don't know why it does that every time. It's kind of annoying. But we're gonna turn it down to. I think there's a post on the forums in the how-to section somewhere that somebody recorded their encounters with aerobraking, and looked like it all turned out pretty well. He listed how fast you can be going at what altitude and how much it'll slow you down and all that kind of stuff, so it won't smash you into the floor, which is good. I'm gonna lower this just a little bit more. I'm gonna go down to like 18. Well, now we'll go to 15. And if this ends up suborbital, we should still be able to land. We shouldn't be going that fast, so we should be alright. And the planet's starting to turn. I think I'm going to land in this. I'm not... there is an Easter egg here. I'm not going to spoil it unless I can actually find it. But if you want to know what it is, go sign up for an account on the forums and take a look around. However, chances are if you're watching this video, you probably found it on the forums, so... Let's see, how's our apoapsis doing? Going to 4x here, because this part's going to take forever if I don't. Yeah, it's coming down. I mean, it's not at 1,000,000 anymore. And actually, what I could do is I could come back down here and just, land. But with this far of an orbit, I'd be going a lot faster than I'd like to. Oh, here we go. It's coming down. Actually, I might have screwed myself. Yeah, it's coming down pretty quick. Uh-oh, uh-oh. Yeah, it looks like we might have to make an emergency landing. See, this is exactly what happened last time. I knew I should have gone to 20 instead of 15. Ooh, actually, I might be safe. Might be safe. Where are we at? Oh, never mind. Ooh, this is going to be close. This is going to be real close. Am I going to make it? Oh, I think I'm going to make it. This is the exact kind of aerobrake you want to be able to pull off. Yes, I'm going to make it. Look at that. Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Well, I don't know. It's still going to be pretty close. Or 22. I think it should. Yeah, it looks like it's going to slow down just enough. Ooh, that's going down. See that? My periapsis is chasing me. It's trying to get me. I think we'll make it though. I mean, this isn't moving that fast. Yeah, we're fine. That is a proper aerobrake. I mean, it could have not been that close and not scared the pants off of me, but hey, it did what I wanted it to do, right? Come on now. Get me out of here. I don't want to be here anymore. In this altitude. So what I'm going to do is, I want to go down to my apoapsis. I'm going to raise this a little bit, because that's a little shorter than I want it to be. Probably do about, I don't know, 40 or something. 40 kilometers. Might just get it eccentric. And, I would like to land using MechJeb, but I'm not going to, just because some people still don't have landing down. And, I guess I should go through that again. Oh, this is going to take a while. I can't time warp any faster until 60,000, which is basically right there, so that's not going to do me any good. But it's turning my ship around to prograde, so that's fine. Do I have an SAS on this thing? Nope. Not having an advanced SAS module does make it a little harder to land, just because you have to pay much closer attention to what your ship's doing. You can press caps lock. By default, that'll turn on precision mode, which makes your inputs not so dramatic. I'm going to do that while I'm landing, just so... I wonder if I can make it. Which way is the planet turning? I think it's turning counterclockwise. Yeah, it definitely is, because the shadow was over here when I got here. So, okay, so I'm going to go prograde. And I'm going to get to about... well, I don't know yet. Let's just rise this a little bit. Maybe we have lots of fuel left. Yeah, we're good. We could actually get this circular. There we go. Now if I go to, I think about here in my orbit, I should be able to put my... that was a waste of fuel, honestly, but... I don't know. This is the part I'm bad at. Because I want to land in this crater. Because it looks nice and flat. By watching me, you learn what to do and exactly what not to do. That actually took about 6 or 7 minutes for me to loop all the way around the planet, just because my orbit's so small. Very annoying. If you want to do time warp loops and you don't want to wait very long, get to higher orbits. Like here, obviously, 300,000 is the limit for like 100x or whatever it is. So I think I was actually in a good spot earlier before I did this, so the whole thing that I just did was actually kind of pointless. But, you know, you win some, you lose speech, obviously. Okay, so I'm getting mad now, so I'm just gonna land. I don't care where I land. So the way I have this set up is I deorbit with a Nerva. Okay, stop lagging. I deorbit with a Nerva, and this decoupler pops and drops these 3 parts off. And then this thing, it's like a Curiosity rover. It lowers down with a parachute, and then it slows its descent, and then off goes the rover. And then, depending on if I'm paying attention, the sky crane thingamajiggy might, I don't know, fly off and explode somewhere, or if I pay enough attention, I can drop the rover and still have the sky crane parachute down. So we're gonna deorbit here. Looks like a good spot. Boom. There we go. And the planet's turning that way, so I have some wiggle room. I'm gonna do... oh, no. What? What is... what? I don't... we can adjust this later. So what I'm gonna do is... how much fuel do I have? I'm fine. I'm gonna slow down. I'm gonna get down to like... I don't know... 25, 30,000 meters, and I'm gonna slow down as much as possible with my Nerva, and then I'm just gonna pop the chute. And I'm gonna use the other engines. So the thing about the parachutes is if you're going too fast, they won't work. They'll just rip off. So what I do is I use my either my Nerva or my top engines to slow down enough that the parachute won't rip off, and this will all survive. So if it rips off, I'm gonna quick save here. I should have quick saved a couple seconds ago, but I think we'll be okay. If it rips off, the carts are invincible for some strange reason. Whoever designed the add-on kind of overlooked that, I suppose. The carts are invincible, but whatever's attached to them is not, including the RCS tanks that go on the side, which can get you into orbit and home in some cases, I guess, if it's a moon rover. So, I really wish we could go faster than this, but I don't think it's going to let us. And since the planet's spinning counterclockwise, obviously my landing spot's going to move as I come in. So I'm going to do small impulses to bring it back a little bit when it gets too far out. It's an alien whale fetus. Don't make fun of me, I have a strange mind. I want to go explore these snowy areas too, that might be kind of cool. Since I don't have the RCS tanks on this rover, it'll take a while for it to get there, obviously. And please tell me I don't have those stupid things on here. Okay. I had struts connected to the bottom of this thing at one point. The engines, and it... Uh-oh. And this is the part where it goes bad, because I'm so far into the atmosphere that it's also starting to shrink my landing spot. That's why it's usually better to just land, just cut a lot of horizontal speed, or yeah, horizontal speed. Cut a lot of your horizontal speed and just land where you are instead of trying to wrap around from the back of the planet. Otherwise, you gain a lot of speed, as you can tell. Looks like I'm hurtling into a death storm. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to. This is really bad. I don't know why I did this. Oh my god, you can stop lagging. I'm not even in time warp anymore. I'm hurtling at the ground at a very alarming rate. So I'm going to do this. I'm just going to burn off all of my fuel from here. It's just slowing down. This is a perfectly safe landing spot. The hills here aren't very dangerous. But unless you're in a tall lander, which I'm not, obviously. So I'm going to slow down a lot, and then I'm going to pop my chute. See if I can slow down more before it actually activates. This is the kind of landing you don't want to do. I was too far behind the planet, and I came in going way too fast because of that. This parachute's going up. Whoa, look at that out there. That is weird. That's a graphical glitch. That's the orbit. Ooh, I'm turned around. Looks like I've slowed down plenty. I need to pay attention to what I'm doing, obviously. Well, I guess the parachute will work, huh? Don't go into time warp when you're parachuting. That'll kill you. The parachute will rip off because the game just kind of like doesn't realize that you're using a parachute. If you have things attached to whatever your parachute's attached to, I usually slow down to something under 50 meters per second. Oh, this is... Stop that! What are you doing? You fool! Why are you doing this? Is the gravity here really this low? I usually slow down to like under 50 meters per second, otherwise the parachute will just kind of like rip. Oh my... Wow, this is really annoying. This thing is retardedly difficult to steer for some reason. And you can see this is using fuel rapidly. These engines are pretty crappy. So about, I think around like 1100. There it goes. Never mind, it's 4,000. Well, our true altitude. See, this is where the radar altitude thing comes in handy. Because we're not actually at 4,000 meters. We're at about 500. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to see if I can get this close enough to the ground. That I can just... Oh no! Oh, it's still going to die. I failed. Wow, there's like no gravity here. Oh, that's too bad. Well, yeah, close enough. What I was trying to do was release the cart before the parachute came off, but it looks like it just comes off when there's no command pod attached to it. So I guess that's not an option to save that thing unless I cut the fuel soon enough. Could have just cut the fuel and let it drop, but you know, I'm weird like that and didn't do that. Okay, I need to get rid of that. The halo is kind of annoying. There we go. So we're on Duna, or yeah, Duna. The brakes, and there we go. Okay, so here's Ike. I'm gonna go into time warp and show you kind of how Ike works. Look what it's doing. It's just bobbing up and down. It's a little closer or farther than Duna's geostationary orbit distance, so it kind of just bobs. It's really neat, and it's just like Earth's moon, where it's tide locked and it's the same side is always facing us, wherever we are. Now ours obviously isn't in geostationary because it moves through the sky, and so that's why Ike is kind of cool. Is because you think it's going down, and then it fucks with you and pulls your chain and yanks back up. Whee! Who else is here? What do we have? We have the Expedition 6 with Jebediah Kerman. He was my first Kerbal on Duna. He's here all alone. This was a stock flight, so he has no. We've got Bill. Bill Kerman is here, watching Ike on the other side of the planet. Get the Duna. Tell me how it goes. Ask me if you have questions and things like that.